Hey class, this is Mr. Roberts, and we're in the lab today looking at Geogebra and the 8 functions from Chapter 5. How did I get to this page? Well, there's a link in your OneNote notebook to this website, geogebra.org, and as soon as I was at this link, I went ahead and clicked Start Creating. Now, if a page pops up and asks you to log in with Facebook, you can select, just continue without logging in, or log in some other way. So I'm not logging in at all. But once I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and click Algebra because we're going to look at some algebraic content. And when you do that, this is where you land, right? This is a place where we can input equations and investigate the curves, the functions that are equivalent to them. So for example, in the input box, I'm going to go ahead and type A. A was y equals x to the second power minus 2x minus 8. And when I press enter, I can see that there's the curve, right? Now this is not a great view for this. I can't see a lot of things. So one of the things you can do is with your mouse, if you just scroll the wheel down, you'll zoom out, and if you scroll up, you'll zoom in. Another thing that you can do is on your toolbar, this tool right here, Move Graphics View, will allow you to click and grab places and move the window around. Something else that I find useful is to actually look at a grid behind these. So if you right click in an empty spot, right, it'll say grid, and you can activate the grid. Now at this point, this is a pretty good look at this function, and there's some things that I think I can definitely see. For example, it appears that I have x-intercepts at 4, 0 and negative 2, 0. And if I scroll in on those, I can kind of get a little bit closer look, and it looks like that's pretty safe bet that this function is crossing the x-axis at 4. And then I'm going to wheel down, so I'm scrolling down to zoom out. I've still got my moving button selected, so if I click I can move this around. And I might zoom in a little bit here and say, yeah, that looks like that's at negative 2. The other thing down here, of course, I can see the y-intercept. It appears that when x is 0, this function would be 8. And that makes sense if I look at it, right? Y equals x squared minus 2x minus 8. If x is 0, both of these terms, this term and this term, would be 0, and I would be left with just the negative 8. Another thing that might be a little bit less obvious is this point down here we call the vertex, right? So if I scroll in quite a bit, I can get to where I'm pretty convinced that the vertex is occurring right here at the point, well, it's y is negative 9. I probably need to zoom up or just scroll up a little bit and trace this line up to see what x is. It looks like x is, oh my gosh, let's see, let me just do it this way. It looks like x is, I think it's going right through that spot, x is 1. So if I was to place 1 into this function, it says, it appears that negative 9 would be the minimum value there. So most of those things you can just see and zoom around, and those are the kinds of things that I want you to record, right? What are the roots, or I'm sorry, what are the x-intercepts? What's the y-intercept? What is the vertex? And perhaps what's the equation of the axis of symmetry? Now I know that my vertex is at the point x is 1, y is negative 9. So this line, x equals 1, is my axis of symmetry. If I wanted to add it to the graph, I could just come over and say, hey, x equals 1. And when I press enter, you can see that that's added that line. It's the axis of symmetry. At this point, you probably have all that you need to know to get to work. When you're finished, one of the things I want you to do is to copy the graphics view and paste that graphics view into your notebook for today's date. So in your notebook, you're going to include what this graph looks like. As I'm sitting here right now, I'm like, how would I do that? I just clicked and dragged, and graphics. I'm not exactly sure how to copy this, so because that doesn't seem like it worked. Probably what you might want to do is I would say go with, on your keyboard there's a button that says print screen, and if you press print screen it's going to copy everything that's on the screen, and then you could paste that in your notebook for today. And I'll investigate some other ways that we can get maybe a little bit better better look at it. Well, actually I think I just found it. No, I didn't find it. So that's it. You're going to do this for functions a through h. And in the notebook I've listed the information that I want from each one, including the graph.